Hello, Tungol Law family and friends. Well, we've made it through the presidential elections and we've ushered in a historic Biden-Harris administration. Sincere congratulations to the 46th President-elect Joseph R. Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris, the first Black and Indian American woman reaching the second highest elected office of this great land of ours. We hope that you and yours are keeping well and healthy amid this pandemic, a top priority of the new administration. And speaking of the administration and immigration, we have your top 3 immigration topics. And today we have a special guest, attorney Aleida Gonzalez. We will be talking to her later on about privacy law. But first, here are your top 3 immigration topics. Topic number 1, did Trump's immigration policy affect the presidential elections? Topic number 2, USCIS filing fee increase is halted for now. And topic number 3, there's a new DOL prevailing wage increase. Topic number 1, did the Trump's immigration policy affect the elections? The National Election Night polling released by Public Opinion Strategies, or POS, shows that President Trump's tough immigration policies made a plurality of voters less likely to vote for him. FWD.us President Todd Schultz breaks down the poll's findings on Twitter. The issue was a significant net negative among both independents. You're looking at 27% more likely and 48% less likely to vote for Trump. And the Democrats had 4% more likely and 76% less likely voting for Trump. Further, it was a significant net negative among suburban women, 27% more likely versus 52% less likely to vote for Trump. And now the U.S. filing fees increase has been halted for now. U.S. Immigration and Citizenship Services, or USCIS, announced significant hikes on certain filing fees that were to take effect on October 2nd, 2020. However, a U.S. district judge in California granted a preliminary injunction that temporarily halts implementation of these new fees, just in the nick of time. This injunction applies nationwide. The plaintiffs filing the case are a group of nonprofit organizations that argued the acting secretary of U.S. Department of Homeland Security, or DHS, Chad Wolf, was improperly appointed in violation of rule of succession. This ruling to halt the fee increase is temporary, based on the court's preliminary injunction. So for now, you can file your applications and petitions using the current filing fee structure, pending further instruction. And there's also a new Department of Labor, or DOL, prevailing wage increase. The prevailing wage range for H-1B, E3, and H-1B1 non-immigrant cases and the PERM labor certification program. DOL uses occupational employment statistics, or OES, data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics to determine prevailing wages in a wide array of occupations. These prevailing wage rates are the average wages paid to similarly employed workers in a specific occupation within a specific geographic area of the intended employment for these foreign workers. Under the new rule, OES prevailing wage minimums will increase significantly for foreign workers at all 4 levels of skills and experience. But stay tuned, because there are a lot of unhappy employers and petitioners, and there are pending lawsuits against this extreme hike in prevailing wage. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we are very pleased to bring you a special guest, good friend, esteemed colleague who specializes in privacy law. Attorney Aleida Gonzalez has more than 10 years in litigation, with 8 of those years as a prosecutor in Illinois. She obtained her Juris Doctor at UIC John Marshall Law School and her LLM at Chicago Kent College of Law. And she is currently working in privacy law. Let us welcome attorney Aleida Gonzalez. Hello, Aleida.
Hi, how are you? Thank you for having me on your show.
Thank you so much for coming on board and talking to us about an important topic. Now, I know that throughout your career, you've dealt with aspects of data privacy. Can you tell us a little bit about data privacy?
Sure. So when it comes to data privacy, there is no single source of law that can tell you about data privacy. It's pretty much broken up into different topics. So you've got federal government, you've got state laws. When it comes to federal government, I'm just going to throw out a few examples. You have the Privacy Act of 1974, and the Privacy Act of 1974 pretty much governs agencies and what they collect, what they retain, and what they disseminate about U.S. persons. When it comes to Federal Trade Commission, they protect consumer data and they seek to prevent unfair or deceptive practices within trade. When it comes to the financial institutions, you've got the Graham-Leach-Bliley Act, and financial institutions are required to know their customers. And so that act governs personal information being held and collected by banks and financial institutions. And every country has their own laws when it comes to data privacy. For example, the EU recently implemented the General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR. And the EU uses that to govern the transmission and security data from residents of any one of the 28 member countries of the EU. One of the things that they have within their laws is the right to be forgotten. So if someone or a company had posted private information about you and you did not want that on the internet, they're required to delete that information about you. Unfortunately, some countries do not have well-developed data privacy laws, and it can negatively impact their citizens without fully developed data privacy laws.
So how do these laws impact us then?
Well, generally as Americans, when it comes to our data, for the most part, the government is pretty, they regulate themselves, they govern how they collect your data, and the Privacy Act of 1974 regulates the agencies and how they can collect, retain, and disseminate your data. But it's the private companies that I would be more concerned about. So the average, a lot of people are quick to point to the government, but in reality, what they don't realize is all the information that private companies are collecting and selling about you. And so the government is not gonna sell your information, but private companies will.
Private companies, are you talking Facebook or when you, your bank, which private companies? Can you give us a couple of examples?
Essentially, it could be any private company. I mean, the way it generally works is you can willingly give a company your information. And if you don't read the fine print, that company may very well sell your information. So when it comes to banks and financial institutions, they have to tell you whether or not what they're going to do with your information and who they give it to. Typically, they often give it to subsidiary, other financial institutions that are subsidiaries of the bank or financial institution you are willingly giving your information to. But they can't give that information to Facebook, let's say. They're not allowed to. However, when you sign up for those ads for that department store that you often purchase merchandise from, they may sell your information. Sometimes it's not necessarily the company that you're giving your information to, but someone else that somehow hacked into that company's information, and now they have your information. And what they're doing with the information is aggregating your data so they can tell stories about you.
Wow. Okay. So what if the information they have may not necessarily be what people think are sensitive information? If people think, well, I've got nothing to hide, what do I have to worry about?
So that's something I've often heard. And you should worry because let's just say you have nothing to hide and you willingly give all of your personal data away to all of these companies. If we start allowing these companies to compile our information. And when they start selling this information, you'll hear terms like big data. What they're doing is aggregating all of your information to tell who you are. They're telling a story. For example, in the 2016, before the 2016 election, if you've heard of the news articles about Cambridge Analytica, they were gathering information about potential voters, and they formed a way to help shape your opinion on who you could vote for or would vote for. And they did that by putting the right information in front of you based off of your searches. And if you have your certain search engines tied to your Facebook and it's all tied together, now they can collect all this information about you. They tell who you are. When you walk into a store, you see ads on your phone for the store that you just walked into. You might think, wow, this is really convenient. And I have now coupons for the thing that I just wanted to buy. How it becomes a problem is, what if you're in economic distress? What if you're a pregnant teenager that hasn't told their parents about the pregnancy, and you don't want them to know, you don't want people to know that you're in economic distress? Well, in some countries that don't have well-developed privacy laws, well, now everyone will know that you're broke. Everyone is going to know that you are now a pregnant teenager and the father is nowhere to be found. It's situations like that that become alarming to us, because we generally feel that while we have nothing to hide, we always have something that we don't want the world to know. And so when it comes to maybe a little bit more that may hit home is our own medical situations. Do we, some people don't want their children to know, parents may not want their children to know that they may be, they may have cancer or they're dying. Would you rather be the one to tell them, or would you rather have the internet tell them that this person is dying? And what if your medical insurance premiums go up because you failed to log in your workout from your Fitbit? Or you forgot to wear your Fitbit, and because you didn't wear your Fitbit, it didn't send that information to your health insurance, and now your premiums are going up. So while you may not have anything to hide, it could still somehow impact us if we continue to allow major corporations consolidate our data and sell it off to others.
Like applying for a new job or our status at our current jobs, would that affect it as well?
Exactly. So there are websites out there that if you belong in a certain profession, it's almost a social norm where you should have your resume posted. What if you didn't have enough friends on your site? Does that mean that the company should not hire you? It's things like that that could potentially impact you, and in a serious way.
Very interesting. Now, how can our viewers and we protect ourselves from this privacy breach?
So there's a variety of things that we can do. So on the one hand, we can't say we're going to turn into a hermit and then not be on the internet at all, because generally that's not feasible, right? Almost anything we do throughout our daily lives require us to have some sort of internet connection. But at the same time, we don't want to give up all of our information either. So there are steps that we can take to mitigate these measures. And one of the things that we can do is use a VPN, a virtual private network. We don't have to share our geolocation every place we go. By using a VPN, it can point that we are in a different location. We can use different search engines. Some search engines will collect all the information that you're looking at. So when you do a search for a particular product, maybe you want to buy something as a birthday gift, and then all of a sudden you're seeing advertisements for that, or items similar to that. Well, why not use a different search engine that doesn't collect information about you, such as DuckDuckGo or StartPage? You can use search engines freely without having to worry that someone is collecting information about you. You're essentially leaving breadcrumbs every place that you visit online. So how about we stop leaving those breadcrumbs, and then they can't find out all this information about us. Another thing is read all of those terms and conditions every time you might want to think twice. So every time you want to play a game, a new game pops up on social media. Read those terms and conditions, because those terms and conditions will tell you whether or not they're going to sell your data. Another thing you can do is opt out of your financial institutions' terms and conditions. Usually there is either somewhere online, let's just say your bank is called Bank X. If you go on their website and you do a search within Bank X's website, then you do type in privacy. And if you type that in and then hit search, it'll give you the location where you can opt in or opt out. Some will make it more difficult for you by requiring you to write a letter. Well, take that time, write that letter. Some of them make it a little easier. All you have to do is hit a click, say, don't sell my information, and then provide your name and information, and that should be it. So there's all these things that you can do to mitigate the sharing and the aggregation of your personal data.
I want to go back really quickly to the search engines, because we typically use Chrome, we typically use Google, right? You said do not leave breadcrumbs. Is there a way to clean it up? Can you clean the cookies, delete the cookies every time, or do you suggest going to a user-friendly and more restrictive search engine?
Well, you can clean it up, but once you've done the search, it's out there now. They've already collected that on you. They already know that you did a search for a particular basketball. They know that you did that search. So now you're going to continue to see that. So whether or not you clean your cookies, or even if you choose not to use cookies, like, it's out there already. You've already done the search. So that's why I would recommend use websites such as StartPage or DuckDuckGo where they are not collecting on you.
Yes, and then it seems like with everything you do, you read the fine print, correct?
Always read the fine print.
Attorney Aleida Gonzalez, is there anything else you'd like to say? We've covered quite a specific range of topics in privacy law. Do you have any closing remarks?
Just always read the fine print, watch where you leave those breadcrumbs, and if you have any questions, contact Kristine.
Contact us here at tungolaw.com. Thank you so much for gracing us with your presence. We've learned quite a lot today in privacy law. Attorney Aleida Gonzalez, we hope that you, our viewers, have learned as much as well today about your privacy and how to protect it. Until next time, we wish you good health and sound spirit. Thank you all for joining us. Attorney Aleida Gonzalez, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for stopping by and joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Always a pleasure. And please check us out at tungolaw.com, facebook.com/Tungol Law Office. And please subscribe to our YouTube channel by clicking on right here or going to YouTube and finding out tungolaw.com. Thank you so much. We hope that you are all doing well. Godspeed and be in good spirit.